boy oh boy, like we knew absolute Black Adam or King Shazam was powerful, but he is off the charts. More powerful than Superman, Hawkman, and Steel all put together and combined. So powerful that he pushes Superman to the brink of defeat and forces him to use power and a combination of things that he has never thought of before. But I am AJ here at the Hero Informer, and let's get into it. Now, right in the middle of what's happening here, we are at a kind of Superman standoff. Each of these different characters, including the real Superman himself, represent a new dawning power in the world, or the reign of the Supermen. Now, at first, nobody here really wants to fight each other, except Black Adam, of course. He's out for blood and to assert dominance and become the new leader of this new world he was woken up in. And he even recognizes Hawkman's design and his helmet and his mace, because if you remember back in issue 16, I believe, during Hawkman's interaction, we saw him get his gear while exploring one of the wells inside of Kahndaq in 1940. Meaning, however, the Kahndaq people in its land got the Thanagarian armor and its weapons, Black Adam recognizes his set and just thinks he's another pawn sent by Brainiac as he attacks him and sends him away. Which that move right there, an attack, just completely buries any hope of a peaceful resolution, as now Hawkman goes on the attack and hits Black Adam with his ninth metal mace and sends him into the upper atmosphere, which does buy the hero some time to talk about what's going on and, how they're teaming up to take on this new threat in the form of Black Adam. Superman is frankly confused though, because up to this point Hawkman has been a pretty established antagonist to him, never really being on his side, fighting against him at every turn. But now suddenly Hawkman is here to help him, in which Hawkman says, don't think too much about this. This is simply to stop someone like King Shazam from going crazy and wrecking half the world. But if they're going to do this, Superman makes it abundantly clear that whatever happens next, you're not to kill him. They're not just going to want to execute him, even though maybe that is the better option, but Superman, even in the absolute universe, is an optimist above all else. But frankly, they're out of time and out of options, as just then King Shazam comes back sending a lightning bolt to the ground. As Hawkman goes on to say, follow my lead. If by some miracle we survive this, then stakes are on me. But turns out John Henry Irons, or Steel, is a vegetarian, and Superman, of course, doesn't really eat food, or doesn't have to. He can just bathe in sunlight to feast. Regardless, they charge up to attack as now the battle is on. Fully, King Shazam absolutely angry and is out for blood, as once they clash, it is just apocalyptic. Hawkman says thunder so loud it's registered as a 6.3 on the earthquake scale. Record numbers of tornadoes rip their way across Australia, jet black twisters full of magic sand coming off of King Shazam, so powerful that they could render steel into mist in a matter of seconds. But even through all this catastrophe, not a soul died. Flights were grounded, satellites knocked out of orbit from the force of their battles, but again, no one was truly harmed or killed, which may seem unrealistic and not really possible given this level of said destruction, but you're going to see why this happens in a second. Because even though it is a 3-on-1, Superman himself, Hawkman, who is at least kind of relative or able to be in that ballpark, and Steel, while not as powerful as the other two, has a very powerful weapon that could deal some damage against just the one absolute Black Adam or King Shazam. You would think it's pretty even and the heroes would eventually overcome just this one opponent, but that might not be the case as they continue fighting. And Hawkman says again, he gets thrown through some mountains, stabbed a few dozen times with bolts of lightning, punched until he swears he can feel his brains running out of his ears. But even through all of the power and destruction, maybe it's the head trauma already setting in, but just for a second, he started to believe the craziest things, believed that they could win, though only for one single second, as the aftermath of the battle is just pure defeat. Black Adam reigns supreme against Superman, Hawkman, and Steel, beating them, then encasing them with his weather manipulation and black clouds. Yeah, he is simply just more powerful than all of them put together, as Black Adam himself goes on to continue the taunts and threats of controlling and conquering the new world, telling him that he's going to hang their corpses from the clouds as a sign of what's to come in the prophecy that he was promised. But everything we've known about Black Adam and his origin and what he is supposed to be gets flipped on his head by Hawkman himself, as he literally laughs in the man's face about this so-called prophecy that he still believes. Because out of all people, out of all heroes or individuals of this world, it was Hawkman himself who found him in that tomb. He's the one who literally described the hieroglyphics that told his story and what really happened. As we find out, it's slightly different than what we were explained to before. 10th Adam, the little boy, the slave of the land, he was captured and given powers by these wizards of the Red Land, except, they weren't really wizards at all. They were simply brainiacs, interplanetary weapon dealers, and entities that did perverse experiments humans. In this case, they used a father box on this random slave child of Kahndaq, something that they themselves didn't even know the origin of and its true capabilities. As they made up some lie about, the box giving him powers of the gods and a magic word that would transform him, that this word and power would change his life forever. As we see, the transformation looks almost horrific and painful, morphing his body from a child to a grown man with power to crush mountains with his bare fist. Now, why did the Brainiacs do this? Maybe because, they wanted to test the father box, maybe watch this experiment unfold, see how far they could push a normal human body with whatever cosmic energy the box has. But regardless, King Shazam was just unleashed upon the world, and for the next few days, it was really something to behold. Taking out armies, stopping slavery in an afternoon. The planet had never seen anything like him. Hawkman even saying, potentially given another week, unchained and uncapped, he might have changed the entire course of human history. But, and this is a big but and a really cool reveal, the world already had its rulers, and the Justice League weren't looking to share. Meaning, yes, as we see these individuals, one looking a lot like Raven among two other people behind her, it turns out the Justice League isn't some new concept or new name that the current lineup is made up of. No, this is a thing that's been here for hundreds of years. These evil beings seemingly have always been ruling in some form or fashion. Meaning, yes, the Justice League has been that much of a thorn inside of Darkseid's, side, that now he's going to use the name and the team formation to terrorize this absolute Earth. But Hawkman continues saying of what really happened, saying that these rulers, the Justice League of the time, they betrayed him, seeing that, Black Adam was a wild card with too much power and very unpredictable. They somehow used the same father box that gave him his powers and used it to imprison him, bury him alive for these hundreds or thousands of years. 3,000 years to be exact, and after all that time, he was in there believing himself to be the prophesied savior that the Phantom Stranger said he was. But, as Hawkman even says, yeah, he's not that guy. Not the guy who's going to save the world, with the power of the sky and the dust of his home on his back. It was never about him, about Black Adam, and it was always about Superman, as just then Superman catches a second wind and breaks free and punches Shazam across the face. With Hawkman continue saying, as they have been battling and Black Adam's powers have been wreaking havoc across the planet, Superman has been the one flying around making sure nobody died. So yes, realistically, a lot of lives would have been lost in this battle and this exchanging of power, but it was Superman himself who changed that and saved everyone. But of course, Shazam has some choice words about this, saying, "Savior, you call this weakling the world's promised redeemer?" Stopping Superman's attacks and grabbing him by the neck before summoning and using his lightning, kind of like a Green Lantern ring, by creating constructs in the form of a spear as he stabs Superman through the chest, saying, if that were true, if he was this world's promised redeemer, would I be able to do this? As you know, the blade just completely pierces his so-called indestructible body like it was nothing. But before Black Adam could do anything further and possibly even kill Superman, just then he gets helped and saved by Parasite. Yes, the same creature that just previously took over Metropolis itself and even was able to contend with Superman and Hawkman for a little bit. Clark, over the time, he has almost domesticated it and it's almost like a pet to him. Though, of course, Black Adam is just too strong. He's resisting Parasite's power and is not able to be just completely drained and overpowered like the heroes were before. Hawkman even saying that yes, Teth Adam has been Shazam for 3,000 years. He's stronger than all of us put together, so we don't really have that much time. As he winds up to get ready to take a very strong kill shot to the back of his head while he's distracted. But before, Superman obviously made it clear that they're not going to kill him. Of course, to a trained soldier like Hawkman, he's going to take every advantage he can as he smacks Superman aside to continue on to try and kill Black Adam. It becomes an entire argument, with even Steel eventually chiming in saying maybe Hawkman is right in this instance, even though Steel himself isn't really a killer and ideally wouldn't even do it himself. Unfortunately, all this bickering and arguing about taking Black Adam's life gives him enough time to overpower and shatter Parasite with his own bare might, seemingly killing the thing just like that instantly, which is bad for Superman, yes, but even worse because Black Adam here is absolutely ticked off. Like, if he wasn't angry before, he definitely is now. And guess what? This entire time, he was holding back. Hawkman going on to say as Black Adam charges towards them, if we thought the beatdown was bad before, well, turns out Shazam was holding back, but not anymore. As he hits Superman with so much force, you can see the power output from space. And in the aftermath, yeah, the heroes really had no chance at all. All of them being beat to the brink of death. bones broken, muscles torn, bleeding out in the snow. It's so bad to the point of like, I don't even know why Black Adam left him alive in the first place. Though with Superman, of course, being the strongest of the trio, he's the first one to get up and forcing himself to continue the fight and find King Shazam. But Hawkman simply says that, yeah, you're not going to be able to do this alone. He's too strong. He's been sitting and absorbing in his powers for 3 millennia. So instead, take our weapons. Of course, Superman's saying no, because taking a weapon would mean using deadly force. And not just Hawkman's Thanagarian ninth metal that in Superman's hands will be strong enough to shatter a planet, but also Steel's hammer as well, which maybe it isn't made out of ninth metal, but it is made out of pure promethium, powered by a miniaturized neutron star in its center. As he even says, the way I see it, if you want to survive in this world, sometimes you have to swing the hammer, and of course do things you normally wouldn't. Which leaves Superman with a very dire choice. Does he pick up these weapons, seemingly maybe the only chance to defend himself and take down Black Adam, but at the cost of killing him in the process? Though all of this kind of leaves one big question. If the heroes are here, where is Black Adam and where did he go? As we cut over to Metropolis and seeing another brutal fight going down, this time between Talia al Ghul and Lois Lane. Now, of course, Talia being the better trained and more powerful one and getting the upper hand and potentially would have killed Lois if nothing intervened and happened here, but it is Black Adam who shows up once more. Not for either of the two women here, no, but for the father box still lurking in the destroyed tower in Metropolis. Because this was the only thing that has ever been able to fully and truly defeat Black Adam and imprison him, the same thing that gave him his powers. So if he wants to rule this new world and everything in it, he has to take out his only weakness, his kryptonite, if you will. As he approaches the box and says, "Hello, Father, I will not be buried or unmade, not by you, never again." As he goes in to grab the thing, forcing it apart with his bare strength and almost actually succeeding, almost ripping it apart with his bare hands, until in a blink of an eye he is whisked away at super speeds, right from Metropolis into outer space to the moon, faster than Black Adam can even react to, which is saying something because he is pretty fast on his own, in which instantly he starts to choke because there's no oxygen and he can't breathe, which this person who did this goes on to say, "You can't breathe. This is the moon and there's no oxygen here, but you still have air in your super strong lungs. Save it, you're going to need it because you are not leaving here." Person smashes both of their hammers against his skull, bashing it in and drawing blood, saying, "You're not leaving here until you say the magic word." As we see, it's now Superman, powered up by not only the 2 weapons and hammers that he's got from his fallen allies, but now decked out in full Kryptonian armor and empowered in a full battle mode. Like, he looks sick. Deciding that if he can't beat Black Adam with his own hands and put him down normally, maybe it's time to step up his game and do something he never would have done otherwise and take a life. But that is something we're going to see next time in the next issue as this video comes to a close. As always, this was AJ here at The Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.